My name is Gavin Evans, and this is my review of Transformers Revenge of the Fallen. And this review will have spoilers, so there's your warning. But I know people hate this movie. It has a 20% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I hear many people call this one of the worst movies ever made, period. But I've never gotten the hate. Like, if you hate the first movie and you hate this one, okay, I get it. I disagree, but I get it. But if you love the first movie and you hate this one, I just don't get it. This is more of the same. The same characters, the same kind of humor, the same action, the same look and feel. And I think both movies are good, entertaining blockbusters. So let's actually talk about how much nostalgia I have for this movie because I watched it all the time as a kid. I was just obsessed with these first three Michael Bay directed Transformers movies. And just like the first movie introduced me to Linkin Park, this movie introduced me to Green Day, so I was very thankful for that. I do like the soundtrack. 21 Guns and New Divide are both really great songs. And let's talk about the cast next. Shia LaBeouf is great. It is a very loud, obnoxious performance, but his delivery just works for me. He keeps these movies entertaining. He's a nice human element. I think without him, these movies would just fall apart, and more on that later. Megan Fox looks great, and I think she does fine enough, but some of her line delivery is just atrocious. Like the first scene between her and Sam, she's joking about wanting to break up with him, and it doesn't sound like she's joking at all, but apparently she is. And look, it's not a good performance, but still, she adds enough to this movie. The romance, you don't really buy it. There's this whole conflict of how Sam won't say I love you, but it's not really leaned into enough. But it's still the most human part of this movie, and it works just enough. Not believable, but it works enough. Josh Duhamel, I really like. I think he can be quite funny, but he's not in this movie nearly as much, which I think is a real shame. Tyrese Gibson does a perfectly fine job, but he's not in this movie much. Ramon Rodriguez, I actually thought was a great addition. He was a very entertaining character, and I like how he was into all these conspiracy theories at the start of the movie, but then he gets caught up in this plot. John Turturro, I think, does a very good job. He's entertaining. He's likable here. Kevin Dunn, I think, continues to do a very good job as Sam's father. And Julie Waddle, I thought, was really funny as Sam's mom. I know people complain about the scene when she's high, but I think it's funny. Isabel Lucas does a perfectly fine job for the short time she's in this movie. Wayne Wilson, Dwight Schrute, is in this movie, and he's fine, but all the girls in his class look at him like the girls in Indiana Jones look at Harrison Ford, and I just don't think there's any comparison, but he's entertaining in his 2 minutes of screen time. Peter Cullen, once again, continues to do a great job as Optimus Prime. Hugo Weaving as Megatron does fine, but he's really not in these movies as much as you think he would be. I liked Mark Ryan as Jetfire, Tom Kenny as Wheelie. I know some people hated him, but I think he's entertaining. And Tony Todd as Fallen is fine, but he really has nothing to do. So the cast is not the issue here. I like the direction by Michael Bay. Once again, he just knows how to make these movies feel epic. It feels big, it feels grand, and he's able to capture scale so perfectly. There was a scene near the end where John Turturro is climbing a pyramid, and you just feel how little he is compared to everything else, and he really excels at that. I do love the different locations in this movie. Like, the first one mainly took place in cities, while this one, you get a university, you get a forest, you get Egypt. Just the movie constantly feels fresh. It progresses very well. The visual effects in this movie still look great. Like, it kind of blows my mind this came out in 2009. Just watching the Transformers transform, it's so impressive, especially the one section with all the different construction bots. Um, Actually, I'll use that to. I really like some of the new Transformers here. You've got this dog Transformer, which is very cool, and there's these small little bots that turn into a full-sized Transformer, which I loved. I thought the human Transformer was a real neat touch. And I even like that one section where Megatron has Sam pinned down, and there's that Warbot that goes into his brain and projects those symbols. Like, I thought they actually were quite creative with this movie. The sound is once again amazing. It's just so great. Like, you can hear the sound and know exactly what movie it's from. The score by Steve Jablonsky is fine. I still like the sound of it, but it sounded like more of the same. I would have liked a few new sounds here. The humor, it works for me. It's every bit as trashy as the first movie, so I don't get why people complain about this one. It's funny. I think it's hilarious that the giant construction robot has wrecking balls as his testicles. It's funny. I'll, I laugh. I laughed really loud. Even the fact the parents end up in Egypt, like, sometimes the humor is legitimately good, but even sometimes the movie's just so bad that you can't help but laugh, and I don't consider that to be a negative. I rate movies on how much I enjoy them, and I laugh way more than I should have with this movie. The action I actually think is a bit better here. Like, yes, it's just a bunch of CGI. Yes, it's giant robots fighting each other, but I think the scene with Optimus and Megatron and Starscream in the forest and the other one is legitimately really good. When Optimus is like, I'll take you on, I'll take you all on. It's a badass moment. I love the one scene where John Turturro and the roommate are like holding on as the one construction bot is sucking up the sand. That's a really exciting moment. And I like how focused this story is. Like, the first movie focuses on all these different characters, but this movie is primarily focused on just Sam and Michaela. And I like that. I like everything with Sam touching the sliver and it affecting his brain, even though he does carry the entire cube at the end of the first movie. So why is it happening only now? That's a bit weird. I like how Megatron and Fallen need Optimus Prime to die before they go ahead with their plan. I like how Sam and friends need to find the Matrix to bring him back. So I actually was invested in everything going on. I like that they're trying to destroy the sun. It's a very unique plot. Um, I do think that some of the writing isn't great. Like, the Allspark and the Matrix can both bring people back to life, apparently, and then Megatron died and gets brought back to life. Optimus dies and gets brought back to life. Sam dies and gets brought back to life. There's an eventual point where it's just too much, and that was the case here. There's one scene early on where Michaela's waiting to talk to Sam, and it's so weird because Sam just literally forgets about her and goes to a party. But like typically in a movie like this, when they have a date, he'll get caught up at work or something else will happen so he can't make the call. But here, he just legitimately forgets about her. I also find it funny when Michaela says, "I'll be there this afternoon." And then Sam draws all those symbols on the wall, and then the evil human transformer comes in. And then Michaela comes in right then. Like, how did it take you to get on a plane, come here, find your way to Sam's room, and all Sam did was draw symbols? I don't really buy it. And for the record, Sam did cheat on Michaela. He was making out with that Transformers Warbot, so it does make him feel a bit scummy. And what else? I know people hate the Warbot Heaven section at the end, and like I said, I'm not a fan of Sam dying and coming back to life, but that section itself doesn't really bother me. Lots of movies kind of do stuff like that. The Fallen sucks. Like, once again, like, he's barely in this movie. He's built up as this big bad guy, and you barely see him. You don't get a sense of the threat of him. And the final battle kind of sucks because it's over in like 30 seconds. It's very underwhelming. And that actually leads into my biggest issue with this movie, which is the runtime. It's 2.5 hours long, and it could have been trimmed down. I think 2 hours and 10 minutes would have been perfect. It would have been great if they tightened that last act a bit and delivered more on the final battle, but yeah, so I got issues with the script. I got issues with the runtime. This is not a perfect movie, but I do think it is a good sequel. I do not hate this movie. There are some nice new additions like the human transformer, the dog transformer, the construction bots. Michael Bay directs this movie incredibly well, and it just feels epic. It can be funny, it can be exciting. I like these characters. Like, I still have a good time with this movie. I could watch this movie like any day in any mood. So, everybody else might hate it, but I have a good time with it. So, Transformers Revenge of the Fallen gets a 7 out of 10. It's funny to think just how many bands I discovered through these movies. But anyways, Transformers Revenge of the Fallen. What do you think about it? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Stay tuned for more videos soon. And Gavin, out.